Hi, my name is Shaz, and I want to make this video tonight or share this with you because I found out some really intriguing information tonight that just added another piece to my puzzle. Yes, I'm a puzzle, and my wires are entangled, and sometimes it can be very confusing for people, and also sometimes I don't even understand myself. But I, one thing I know for sure is that no one could change my DNA or change my blueprint. People have tried to do that. I know now scientifically they could alter your DNA and through artificial intelligence and stuff, but I'm talking about people coming into my life thinking they're gonna change my DNA or my blueprint into something that they want. Okay, but I am who I am, and there's a genetic disposition that is responsible for who I am. Let me give you a little bit of background, okay? So, I grew up in a two-parent household, which was no big deal until my brother brought it up to me maybe about 20 years ago. And he says, just think about on our street. We were one of the few people that grew up in a two-parent household. I'm like, what you talking about? And then, he had to point out, okay, with this parent, these people got divorced and these people broke up and this. And then so you start thinking, oh, yeah, we did. I grew up in a two-parent household. Well, okay. Another thing is that we never had to come home and see an eviction notice on the door. We didn't come home and we didn't have food to eat, or we didn't have lights, or we didn't have clothes, or we had to be free. We don't have a hard luck story. Of course, we grew up in the suburbs of Trinidad and Tobago, in Diamond Vale to be specific, okay, in Port of Spain on the outskirts of the city. So you grow up and you just have this life that you think is normal, but it's really not normal for everybody, right? Um, so I was born Brown Mendez. My mother is Brown. My father, my biological father, is Mendez. I was adopted by my stepfather, whose last name is McLean. So for the first many years in my life growing up, I was McLean until I changed my name legally. And I didn't change my name to desert my stepfather because I love him to death. It's just that when I had changed my name and put in all the names, it just couldn't fit. It was just like so many names, right? Because my name is Shaz Akemi Shausiku Brown Mendez. I couldn't fit the McLean in there. And I said, okay, I do have Brown and Mendez blood in my body. That's who I am. So I decided, okay, well, I will live the last part of my life carrying Mendez because I was Mendez before. So I rightfully own the name. All right. Now, my grandmothers, let's put it this way, my grandmothers were single parents by choice. I know my mother's mother was married at some point in time. I never met him. She had 3 children. I remember seeing a man around her once. I was 13 years old. She had just moved back to Trinidad from Venezuela. And this man was there. And the following weekend or two, when I went back to the house, I didn't see him again. I never talked about it until about 3 years ago, just before my aunt passed. My mother's eldest sister, because she was still alive. My mother had 3 sisters, and they died in reverse to how they were born. Like my mother's youngest sister, she died first, and my mom was the middle. She died, and then my aunt died. She was the eldest, so she died like 3 years ago. And I was having this conversation with her, and I said, I remember one time when Darling came from Venezuela. That was my grandmother's name. We called her Darling. And she had a man with her. I said, but then I never saw him again. And so my aunt said, well, it looked as though he just wanted to come and sit in the house and not work. And my grandmother wasn't having it. Now, my grandmother worked. and built her two-story house herself. When I say built it herself, means that she worked and she bought every brick, every concrete, every beam, everything that she needed to build that house, that two-story house that she built for my cousin Michael, my other cousin Shirma, and myself. All right. So I was born in that house. I wasn't born in a hospital. I was born in that house. My mother had 3 false labor calls that she went to the hospital. She was in there like for a couple of days. I didn't come. I came when I was good and ready. And that's the same person I am today. I came into this world when I was good and ready on my own time, nobody else's time. So I came slightly after midnight on a Friday night, which took it into a Saturday morning, in the dark, because there was no running water, there was no electricity back then. All right. So in the dark with candles, probably a lamp with oil, a basin of hot water, a razor blade to cut the navel string, okay, and tie it. That's how I was born. So when I tell people that my navel string is buried in my grandmother's backyard under the mango tree, I'm not lying. That's where it is. I am from Belmont. I'm a Belmont girl. My seed is planted. That tree is still there. All right. Then on my paternal side, my grandmother, she was a savage boss too. She raised 6 kids. 6. And in 1996, when I was 36 years old and I went home and I had planned this vacation with my fiance. We broke up before the vacation, but we still took the vacation anyway, because we were still friends. We're still friends to today, right? And my grandmother was actually meeting him for the first time. And I remember her pulling me to the side and she says, oh, you get that from me. So she said, I like them big and strong, just like that. Because my fiance, that he's 6'3", 6'4", somewhere around there, and big guy, right? He was a personal trainer. So I said, oh, that's where I get it from. I said, I thought they like me. I said, so I'm attracted to that type. That's what it is, right? So you kind of like put pieces together. Okay, all right, cool. Because I'm 4'10". My grandmother probably must be maybe 4'11", 5 feet. Okay, she was short as well. Well, we're not short. We just old for our height. That's it. We're not short. Okay, you're older than your height. Okay, so that's what it is. But anyways, so I said to my grandmother that particular day, because I was going through the family album, and it dawned on me as an adult that I never saw a man around her, and I never saw a picture with her with a man. Any pictures they had of her with males were her sons or her grandsons. Her sons or grandsons. No other man was ever in a picture with my grandmother. So I asked her then, who's my grandfather? And she said, that's a long story. I said, well, I got time. So she explained to me that when she was going to high school, this man used to tease her when she was on her way to school. And she always said in the back of her head that when she was finished with school, she was going to marry him. So she married this man. He was 44 years old. She was 18. He died shortly after they got married. He didn't live too much longer. Then she got married to another man, and she had kids for him. All the children were for him. Now, that wasn't a good marriage. It wasn't a good marriage in terms of he was a drunkard, and he would come home all types of hours, or probably not even come home, spend all the money. And my grandmother was not having that. Now I see where I get that from. Okay? And she never gave his children his name. So this Mendez name that I carry really comes from her. It's not from my grandfather. It's from my grandmother. She gave her children her last name. So that's the kind of power that I come from. All right? That's the kind of queen king background that I have. They call shots. So another thing that I learned tonight is that my grandmother's uncle absconded the night before his wedding. Right? That was like really interesting, and it was really it was an important piece to my puzzle. If you know me, you know I've been engaged 8 times that I could remember. Okay, but 8 times for real. And because I said no to others, it might have been more engagements. But I've never been married and always been happy. My friends and my clients call me the runaway bride. They call me the runaway bride. I would hear my clients under the dryer bad mouthing me about how many times they done bought a dress and they were ready to go to a wedding, and then I'll call it off in the last minute, all this stuff. But the reason that I call it off seriously is because in my gut, right? Because I'm very instinctual. I knew that if I got married to those individuals that I would have been divorced or would have been heading to divorce, something like that. Like, because I probably could still be in a marriage because I'm a procrastinator. So I will probably be saying like, I'm going to divorce his ass next Monday. I'm going to file the divorce next month. As soon as New Year's come, that's it. I'm going to file this divorce. And 26 years could go by and I could still be promising to do this divorce. And if he never files it, and once he's not being abusive to me, I could still be probably in a shitty, miserable marriage. I don't know. Right? Because of my procrastination, because of my habitual procrastination. I'm so last minute. So it probably would have been a situation where I have to get married to somebody else. And then now I'm rushing to get a divorce. Okay? Maybe. So, that's my grandmother's uncle, so that's my great uncle. All right. See, it's still in the DNA. Still in the DNA. I didn't abscond on nobody, but I know I had the balls to call it off. But here, listen to his name. My great uncle's name was Honest. Honest. So some people might say, oh, well, he was dishonest because he absconded the night before the wedding. No, I think that was a very honest thing to do. He probably knew this is not where I want to be for the rest of my life. And probably couldn't talk his way out of it. So he did the next best thing. Just like when people say, oh, well, you shouldn't be getting married to that person, blah, 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 blah. But you want to marry the person, and then what you do? People go and what does they call it? When you run away and get married? Elope. Okay, some people elope and some people abscond. So my honest uncle, whose name is Honest, he absconded. And there you have it. I said, okay, that's where it came from. Y'all trying to figure this out? And for all these years, y'all just talking about me. Oh, she always talking about getting married. And we all prepared. My aunt reminded me tonight about how she was so prepared to come to this wedding that I was going to have by the water. And then we were going to be on a yacht. And the yacht was going to be out in the ocean for like 4 hours. We will be partying. And then a helicopter was going to come and get me and my husband from the yacht and take us to the hotel, to the rooftop of the hotel where we were going to be before we went on our honeymoon. Okay? She remembered all of that. And that is probably from 1993 or so. I think it was supposed to happen. But other things happened that we had to delay it, like a family member got ill, and time was put into that. And then, of course, over time I realized, okay, I don't want to be married to this person. Even though they're a great person, are we still the best of friends, right? But, okay, it is what it is. You can be best of friends with people, you don't have to marry them. Like I said, with Honest, that kind of made me, it was like an aha moment, like, oh, okay, that's where I got it from. That's why it is the way that it is. Don't be mad at me. All right. I ain't come here to tell y'all to be like me, and I even come to tell you to like me, because sometimes I don't even like me. So we cool with that, right? So another thing, how we segued into that conversation was because I was asking about our family estate on the other side of the island. I was asking, like, how did my grandmother end up, like, from on the outskirts of the city, on the northwest side of the island, to the southeast side of the island. like 3 hours away. How did she end up there? You know, like how come that's where my blood is, right? And so this same uncle that absconded, his plan was to go to Venezuela because that's where my family lineage is from. The Mendez is from Venezuela. So he was planning to abscond to Venezuela. And amazingly, his mother, who would have been my great aunt, great aunt, right? She said, like she put a curse on him. She said he will never get to where he trying to get to. He will never make it there. Wherever he run into, he will never make it there. And she was right. He never made it to Venezuela. He made it to Mayaro. Now, probably if he was on the southwest side of the island, he might have made it to Venezuela because Venezuela is really only 7 miles away from Trinidad. Had he been on that side of the island, okay. But he was on the other side of the island. So that's where he went and that's where he settled. Now, he became very ill and he wanted one of his nieces to come take care of him. My grandmother, being in her shitty marriage, used this opportunity as a way to abscond from that marriage. All right? So she went and she took care of her uncle. She met this man, Descent, who I've heard his name so many times because they call my grandmother Ma Descent. I always knew her as Ma Descent, but she was never married to Descent. And, you know, so that's people just gave her that name, Ma Descent. So she met Descent. And then I guess they fell in love and he just took all her kids. So she just, you know, brought everybody from in the city to the countryside in Mayaro. And that's how they wind up living there. Now, my father, my biological father, his nickname is Honey. Okay, Honey. So I'll tell you a little bit about him. Honey was, you know, what is it? Planting seeds. Like I have a sister that was born just a few months after me. Like I was born in February. I think she was born in June. 2 different mothers. You know, I mean, well, he's been married now for like 50 something years, probably. If not longer, I don't know. Like 50 something years, yeah. He's married. He has another daughter, which I just connected with her 2 years ago. So now I have this other sister, you know, and that led to me reconnecting with my father. You know, we communicate now daily on WhatsApp. Although I did meet him before when I was like 5 years old was the first time I met him. I met him once, then he was gone. I got cut off. He absconded to escape child support and moved to Canada. All right. And then I met him again when I was 30 years old. And basically I said to him then that I held nothing against him. I don't know what happened between him and my mother because that's none of my damn business and I don't care. I expressed to him that I didn't miss his presence because I didn't. I wasn't saying it to be nasty, but I did not miss his presence. I was born, my stepfather was always there. That's my dad. When you hear me talk about my dad, that's my dad, my stepfather. My father, I refer to him as my father, my biological father. If I say my father, I'm talking about my biological father. And if I talk about my dad, I am speaking about my stepfather. What's the difference between a father and a dad? A father was involved in the creation, but a dad is committed for the development of that creation and the nurturing of that creation. Okay? So that's my differentiation. So my dad was committed. And I told him I didn't miss him. I had uncles. I had three sets of aunts, 3 sets of uncles, 3 sets of cousins, and I thought my life was perfectly normal. I didn't realize that there was a functionality in a dysfunctional situation. See, my grandmother, my paternal grandmother, referred to my mother as her daughter and my stepfather as her son-in-law till the day she died. She included and embraced all my siblings that my mom had after me, okay? And before me, because I have an older sister. She embraced all of them. We all would go to her home on that side of the island, on the beach, because she had two beach houses. She had a house there, and then they had the two beach houses. We go up there and vacation, and it was always welcoming. So as a child, that there's no mystery or no question as to what this is, because that's all I knew. And then, so on my stepdad's side, my dad's side, my stepfather, I I had a grandmother there and aunts and uncles and cousins, right? And then on my mom's side, I had grandparents, aunts, uncles, and cousins. I thought it was normal. I didn't know. I just always thought I had three sets. I thought everybody had three sets, and that's not what it is. But when you grow up with this much love, like I'm having three families that are loving on me. I did not miss my paternal father. Never even like, okay, well, where's he? Or, I knew he was in Canada, but it wasn't like a big deal. I went to the best school. I went to a prep school. I went to my high school was a girls' college. I was chauffeur driven to and from school. I grew up in a house with maids and housekeeper and nannies and everything. So I had a good life that I thought everybody had, but it wasn't like that. And now that I am taking last breaths, last steps, living last days, because every breath that I take is one less breath I have to take. Every day that I wake up is one less day I have to wake up. I don't know when my time is going to be. I don't know the date. I don't know the hour. I don't know that. It could be anytime. It could be tonight, right? But I always enjoy learning about my family history, and because it answers so many questions. So all of y'all who want to talk about me and call me Runaway Bride, it came from somewhere. Okay, I didn't just make it up. I'm just not a runaway person. My choice is by default. It is by default. Okay? That was that. You won't believe how I was cracking up tonight. I said, I cannot wait to share this story. People gotta know this story. Because you don't know your background, right? You don't know it if nobody tells you. And so as people are dying in the family, you kind of like, once the oldest person dies, and that's it, you can lose a lot of stuff. So now the oldest in the family will be my uncle, and which he will be the patriarch of the family, and my aunt, she's 80, and my uncle is 87, going to be 88, right? My grandmother lived until 100. So maybe we might live that long, maybe not, I don't know. But look at me. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Shaz, and I am phenomenal. And I have a colorful history and a very strong lineage of women, dominant women in my hierarchy. You can't take it away. I grew up in a entrepreneurial environment. The women in my family were all, most of them were business owners. We're allergic to employment. My grandmother ruled her estate. People remember her. She will come on her land and try to steal something. Okay, she will pull a cutlass on your ass so fast. I'm 4'10". My grandmother is probably like 4'11", maybe 5 feet. And we're not short. We're just old for our height. Like you have your height and then you have your age, and we just, our age surpassed our height, but we're not really short because our statures are like giants, right? We have this ginormous stature and posture. So that's not really a handicap in our world and in our development. So now you know me. Now you know a little bit more about me, and I'm going to be sharing this with my son too. This is going to be so freaking amazing. So everyone, be good. Until the next time, I got something to share with you. Take care. Bye.